This week's parasha is Chaye Sarah. And early in the portion, in the parasha, we learn about the importance of a place in the land of Israel. Probably the first place that has holiness and importance for us in our learning of the Torah. And that's Hebron, the place where our forefathers are buried, the place where Avraham buys from the locals a plot in order to bury his wife who has passed away, Sarah. So that's a family story, but of course it becomes a national story. From Hebron being somewhere where an individual, a member of a family, is buried, where Avraham, who is strange to the land, is promised the land by God and now buys a plot for his wife, Hebron became a national story. And I think Hebron represents for us the difficulties of our return to the land of Israel. On the one hand, Hebron is holy. It's holy because of the burial place there of our forefathers. It's holy because of Abraham's acquisition of the land, and that being represented in Torah. It's holy because, of course, it's in Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. So the way we refer to it is as Yerushalayim, as Shechem, which many call Nablus, as other places, as a place of Kedusha, of holiness, because of its importance in Eretz Israel. Of course, at the same time, today, Hebron represents a difficult part of the conflict between us and the Palestinians. It's a place with a small Jewish enclave and a large Palestinian population. And so Hebron represents both a place, in a sense, of holiness and peace for us, and a place which also represents conflict, the present modern day conflict. And so that's, in a sense, a dilemma. We look at Eretz Israel as a place of holiness, and we can't forget that. We can't let the conflict that goes on allow us to diminish our love for the land and our belief in the idea of the liberation and national identity of the Jewish people, of Zionism, and its connection to Israel. And that's a really important point. An article written recently by Robin Moss, an educator around Israel who works for the UJA, made this point, that in educating our young today, the situation is different. It's not the great days of the early state, or the heady days of the 1960s, after the Six-Day War, of course, in 1967, when Zionism was more romantic. It's less so now, because we've been at war and we've been in conflict for so long. It's a lot harder. The conflict is a lot difficult. The collateral damage is greater. The delegitimizing of Israel, in many ways, may be greater. So we've got to, in a sense, within that fight, to allow our children and us to still relate to the holiness and the importance in our history of Medinat Israel, the state of Israel, and Eretz Israel, the land of Israel. But at the same time, we can't, of course, lose sight through our belief in the Jewish connection to the land that there is another people also who has a claim, and working creatively or believing in solutions which allow the self-definition of others as well, while maintaining a Jewish hold, a Jewish country within the land of Israel. So that's the dilemma. That's the challenge. To bring together, on the one hand, holiness and love for the land, which is to me so important, and the realization that at the moment we haven't reached the resting place. Eretz Israel is still a place which represents for many conflict.